I know I'm the villain in the story with Maya. Liam sighs, staring into the steam of his coffee. We spent 7 years building a life together, yet I never gave her a ring. Deep down, there was this nagging whisper telling me she wasn't the one. Even though on paper, everything was perfect. We were stable, we were comfortable, but we were just stagnant. Everything changed when he met Juliana. It wasn't a slow burn, it was a lightning bolt. For the first time, Liam understood the cliches about knowing instantly. But instead of facing the woman who had shared his bed for nearly a decade, Liam chose the path of least resistance. And now, he waited until Maya went to visit her parents in Vermont for the weekend. Instead of a face-to-face conversation, he condensed 7 years of partnership into a few cold lines on a screen. I sent her a text, he admits, his voice trailing off. I told her we had run our course, that the spark was gone, and that we should stay friends. I asked her to leave her keys with the building's concierge and move her things while I was away for work. I didn't mention Juliana. I thought I was sparing her feelings, but I was actually just protecting myself from her reaction. None. By admitting the truth about the other woman, Liam unwittingly left a door cracked open. To Maya, this wasn't a definitive end. It was a rough patch or a midlife crisis she thought she could fix. He didn't give her a breakup. He gave her a puzzle she felt compelled to solve. Justina, что rumejde. Ja dodав більше драматизму, описавши психологічні стан героїн через метафору, я заштаді, горяюта зробив, сцену в квартир більш напруженою, у стилю сучасного, психологічного трилера. And Part 2. The Ambush and the Aftermath. That was my second mistake, and perhaps the most selfish one, Liam admits, his shadow stretching long against the wall. By leaving the why unanswered, I turned Maya's grief into an obsession. She didn't just spiral. She launched a full-scale campaign to reclaim a ghost. My phone became a battlefield of missed calls, sobbing voicemails, and erratic texts. She went from begging for a second chance to offering to sign over her family's lake house in Maine, and even suggested we finally start the family she'd always wanted. She was bartering with a man who had already moved on. Anyway, the climax of her desperation arrived on a rainy Tuesday. Liam was in his apartment sharing an intimate dinner with Juliana. The candlelight reflected in the wine glasses, a scene of domestic bliss that Maya was never supposed to see. Then, the doorbell rang. When Liam opened it, Maya was standing there, shivering in a heavy faux fur coat, her eyes wild and bloodshot. Before he could speak, she let the coat slide to the floor. Beneath it, she wore nothing but a desperate, final attempt to reignite a flame that had long since turned to ash. She lunged at him, a mix of tears and perfume, until she saw Juliana standing in the hallway. The air in the room turned to ice. The realization hit Maya like a physical blow, turning her seduction into a primal scream of rage. She flew at Juliana, fingers clawing, a whirlwind of betrayal and heartbreak. It took everything Liam had to restrain her and force her out of the apartment, the sound of her sobbing echoing down the hallway long after the door was locked. Nani. The breakdown was total. Maya was admitted to a private psychiatric facility for a month to treat a severe nervous collapse. When Liam heard she had been discharged, he felt a wave of relief, not for her, but for his own conscience. He assumed the madness was over. He and Juliana moved forward, faster than before, as if trying to outrun the trauma. They set a wedding date, picked out a venue in the Napa Valley, and filed for their marriage license. Life was finally beginning. And that's when the silence was broken by something far more dangerous than a phone call. Down. Ostretia, Chastino, Što. Dla amerykanskiego kontekstu, ja zrobił akcent na reputacyjnemu marketingu ta kultura wydeklikania. Cancel culture, shoa duże bolючим dla prywatnych fachowców USA. One. Part 3. The Ghost of the Internet. I'm a licensed massage therapist working at an upscale private wellness center, and I also take high-end private clients at their homes. Liam explains, his jaw tightening. In this industry, your reputation is your currency. I'm listed on several professional platforms like ZocDoc and Yelp, where client ratings determine whether you eat or starve. For years, I maintained a perfect 5-star rating. My hands were my livelihood, and my professionalism was my pride. Undeniably. But just as he and Juliana began mailing out their wedding invitations, the digital walls started to crumble. No. At first it was subtle. I started noticing vicious, 1-star reviews appearing overnight. They were filled with repulsive accusations, claims of unprofessional behavior, hygiene issues, and crude comments. The names under the reviews were strangers to me. Christine, Angelina, Sienna. I checked my client logs, and I had never treated anyone by those names. I tried to dismiss it as a glitch or a bitter competitor, but then the damage hit my bank account. New bookings plummeted. The nightmare escalated from the digital world to his physical workplace. Liam's boss, the medical director of the clinic, called him into his office for a closed-door meeting. He didn't greet me. He just slid a manila envelope across the mahogany desk, Liam recalls. Inside was a formal letter addressed to the clinic's board. A woman claiming to be Angelina wrote in chilling detail that I had attempted to sexually assault her during a private session. No return address, no phone number, just a raw, devastating accusation. In the U.S. medical wellness industry, such an allegation is a nuclear bomb. The letter demanded Liam's immediate termination and threatened a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the clinic for negligent hiring and failure to protect patients. My boss looked at me not as a colleague of 5 years, but as a liability, Liam says. The legal department was terrified. In the age of social media, an accusation doesn't need to be true to destroy a business. It just needs to be loud. Ja dodав більше психологічно глибини, акцентувавши на тим морально дилемі. Де закнуться за відповідальність за колишнього партнера. Part 4. The Price of a Clean Break. How did you handle it? I asked him. Hannah. I stood my ground, Liam says, though his voice lacks the triumph of a winner. I asked the medical director to pull the clinic's records right then and there. I knew for a fact that no Angelina had ever checked in, signed a waiver, or paid a bill. I told him to check the IP addresses of the reviews too. It was amateur hour, clumsy, emotional, and transparent. The person behind this wasn't a criminal mastermind. They were someone drowning in pain and lashing out blindly. Now. Liam knew there was only one person who fit that description. He didn't have enemies at work, and his professional life had been spotless until the moment he sent that final text message to Vermont. Driven by a mix of anger and a lingering sense of duty, Liam drove to Maya's apartment to end the cycle. But when he arrived, he found the windows dark. Her mother answered the phone, her voice brittle. Maya had suffered another collapse and had been readmitted to the psychiatric ward just days prior. James. That's when the guilt hit me like a physical weight. Liam sighs, leaning back. I looked at this wreckage and thought, I did this. I broke her, now she's trying to break me back. But then I realized, what was the alternative? Staying in a lie for the rest of my life, just to keep her stable? You can't negotiate with the heart. I stopped loving her years ago. I just didn't have the courage to say it until it was too late. The immediate fires were eventually extinguished. After presenting the evidence of the fraudulent claims, the professional platforms scrubbed the fake reviews. His boss kept him on staff, though the relationship remained strained. In the corporate world of high-end wellness, drama is a dirty word, and Liam was now the man with the unstable ex. Everything is fine now on paper, Liam concludes. The wedding is still on. My ratings are back to 5 stars. But I've learned that there's no such thing as a clean break when you leave a trail of unanswered questions. I'm starting my new life with Juliana, but I'm doing it with the knowledge that somewhere, Maya is still picking up the pieces I left behind. And that's a shadow I'll have to walk with for a long time. And shall I die? Well, in the end, Liam says, looking out at the city lights, I'm not angry anymore. I just hope she heals. I hope the doctors in that facility can give her the peace I couldn't. More than anything, I hope she finds someone who looks at her and sees the one from the very beginning. Someone who won't wait 7 years to realize they're in the wrong story. He knows that for his own life to truly start, Maya's obsession has to end. It's a strange, lingering kind of purgatory, waiting for your ex to fall in love with someone else just so you can finally be free. He's moving forward with his wedding plans, but he does so with a quiet prayer that one day, Maya will delete his number, forget his face, and find a happiness that doesn't involve looking back at the wreckage he left behind. Inside.